This week is going to be a little bit different. We are going to watch and see all the incredible things that God has done. We're going to get to watch some videos. We're going to get to hear from Pastor Josh. At one point, I'm going to be doing an interview with him. So we're so glad that you're here with us. And as we think about this last 6 weeks and all God's done, as we've taken the time to study and pay attention to showing love, it's been incredible. We reached out. We said, God, we trust you. We expect from you. And God showed up. So the first 2 weeks of this series were all about being transformed by love. So let's watch as we remember the stories that God moved, transforming us by his love.
Hi, my name is Marcel, and this is my transformation story. So how I became interested in following Jesus, all through my life, I was an awful child, and then something my senior year of high school, something just clicked in my head. I heard like a little voice said, "This is just dumb." After high school, I always thought it was weird that it would just change just like that, and I knew that something had to lead me to change. And in the back of my mind, I always thought maybe it could be Jesus, maybe the Lord. But I never really stepped into that until I got introduced to this church. The reason I made the decision to follow Jesus was I got invited to help out with turkey bowling here at the church. And I was like, whoa, this is fun. Like, people just come to celebrate Jesus in a fun way. And then I got invited to another event, help out, and I was hooked. Like, Dwayne was the reason why I started coming to this church. He said, hey man, like, come check it out, come check it out, come check it out. And then after like first service, I was like, yeah, this is what it is. Like, I should be doing it, following Jesus. The reason why I chose to get baptized was Josh. He was like, at service, he's like, hey, we filled up the water. It's nice and warm. If anyone's feeling to be baptized, and I just felt this overwhelmment of, yeah, I should go do that. And then I went up, talked to Rusty, and I guess the rest is history. What it was like to get baptized was wet. But after being wet, like, I felt relief. Kind of like a fresh start in a sense. I don't really know how to explain it other than it felt like a fresh start.
Good morning, everyone. Good to have you here today. Today we're just going to tell some stories to be a little bit different, as opposed to just one person standing up here and preaching at you like me, yelling at you. Come on! We're just going to tell some stories and talk a little bit and be encouraged by what God has done over these last 6 weeks, because we reached and he responded. And so that is just good news. You know, over these weeks, the first 2 weeks, it was all about transformed by love. And you just heard Marcel's story of what it means to be transformed by love. And there's something about hearing a fresh story. It's like a breath of fresh air, isn't it? It's like fresh water, right? You know that bottle of water you have sitting in your house that's been there for like a week that you haven't opened, or anybody have one of those, or is that just me?
Yep.
Yeah, you probably have one of those, don't you? It's not like that. It's that fresh water that just flows and is so restorative and refreshing. And so what we saw over these past 6 weeks, and specifically in those first 2 weeks, was that Jesus turns a lifetime of despair into direction. He turns our despair into direction. And remember the new shoes thing that we did, and when we danced across the front of the...
that was a good time.
How many of you were here for that? How many for you that was a stretch? Just like that was a stretch for you? You're like, I'm not sure if I'm good with this, or this is kind of weird. And then I told you that David danced before the Lord, and if you didn't, you'd go to hell. And then so you went, okay, I'll do it. No, I didn't say that. but you remember that, right? That's just one of those moments. And Marcel's baptism was definitely a moment. The memory verse for that first week was let's see if I can remember it. 2 Corinthians 5:17. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Behold, the old has passed away and the new has come, right? And that is just gold, isn't it? Isn't that gold? Anyway, you can clap for that. You can clap for that, absolutely. So another thing happened in our ministry with a young person, and it was with a young woman named Maddie, and that was just another refreshing story. Why don't you just tell us, first of all, your response to Marcel? I mean, we talked about this a little bit. Like, what did you do after you went home? Like that day?
That day we went home, and there was just a sense of excitement, and just being able, because Marcel lives with us. Marcel lives with Rachel and I. He's lived with us for a couple months. He's, it's been really good just to be able to talk to him, and he asked questions about Jesus. And so, but that day after he had gone baptized, Rachel and I went home, and we were just hyped. Like, we were super excited. And
did you guys like bungee jump or something?
Yeah.
Like, you just went crazy?
I mean,
had a great time. And
and we
awesome,
just got to talk to him and just say, like, awesome, good job, great job, like, proclaiming your faith. And, it's a huge step. And we were just, he asked a couple more questions, and we got to talk a little bit more. And it was a great Sunday. That was a good Sunday.
Awesome.
So
now tell us about Maddie. What happened with Maddie? You told me about that story. Mm-hmm. She also was baptized during the series.
Yep.
But it wasn't here.
No.
So tell us about that.
Because
remember, wherever there's water, we'll do baptism.
Exactly. Right? And it's funny that you were saying that, because that was a first for me. That's for sure. Okay. But yeah, the first week, the start of the Show Love series, the high schoolers meet on Sunday night, and it's called a chill night. And basically all it is we come, we sit in the lobby and hang out. That's all we do. I mean, so that night we had just a couple students, and Maddie was one of them. And we were sitting there and literally just talking, just chatting about how's school going, how's family stuff going, how's this, that, the other. Like, I mean, it was just an organic conversation. Nothing was planned, and we're just sitting there talking. And so at the end, I left about 30 minutes to do something planned, which was to watch the video and go through. That was like their city group, I guess, right? So We're going through that. We watched the video, and it's talking about being transformed, and welcome to the series, all this stuff. And at the end of it, we started going through some questions, and then Maddie just started telling us her story. She just started talking about how she's been feeling and what she thinks, or how Jesus has transformed her life. And we're just talking, and then I get this kind of sense like, hey, have you been baptized? And we talk about that a little bit, and she explains to me kind of what her situation was, and we start going through that. And then she says, but I want to get baptized. I want to make that choice. I want to make that choice to live for Jesus.
You didn't have any faith, and so you're like, okay,
yeah, exactly. I was getting there.
You're like, we'll just wait on that.
Yeah,
He's like, no.
Yeah, it was
now, Dwayne.
My thought went to, we got a baptism coming up in a couple weeks.
Right.
Let's do this. Let's have everybody experience it. And her and Rachel were kind of like, well, why don't we just do it now? And I was like, or we could do it right now. Yeah, that sounds great. And so Jacob Bradner was there. The Bradners have a pool. And I called the Bradners up, and I said, hey, Maddie wants to get baptized. Can we make this happen in your pool? And she said, they were like, absolutely, come on over. We'll have cake afterwards. And so it was
awesome.
But it was that was an awesome experience. In a pool. It was great.
Isn't it refreshing? One of the highlights of your story was that you took the time, and I think we can all learn from this, especially those of us who are a little bit older. You took the time to just provide an environment where she could feel safe and come, and you just had a conversation, and there was not a lot of structure around it. It's called chill night. So it's not called structure night, or here's 8 things you can do. It's just, hey, we're just going to be together. And I think that oftentimes the things that have been shared with me that are the most impacting are times when I wasn't expecting it, and times when we just open up our hearts to what God might do. And I think there's something that we can learn from that. There's a nugget there. And so, I mean, aren't we just so happy that Dwayne's here and that he's doing this ministry, especially with our young people? So can we just thank God for what he's done?
Yeah.
So incredible to hear those stories of transformation by Jesus. We believe that Jesus is the reason for transformation, that by ourselves, we are our old selves, like Pastor Josh said, but with Jesus, we are a new creation. We are transformed into saints, from being sinners into saints. And it was so great. And we're so thankful for all that God has done. I asked in the chat, where do you like to chill? That was really cool to see some people saying at the coast, in their backyard. Dwayne did so incredible with providing an environment. So my challenge to you might be, what environments are you in where you can just be there for others to be able to just express their stories, to be able to just share their stories because it's a safe place? Well, after transformation, we started focusing on unity. Unity in the body of Christ, that we are united by Jesus. Jesus said that others would know that we are his followers by our love for one another. So we want to be a place that's united. And the way that we do that the most is in our city groups. So I'm going to run over to the stage and we're going to have an interview with Pastor Josh about our city groups. We're going to talk about what God did during the city group experience here this series. So let's go and have that conversation with Pastor Josh.
You know, we learned in the second part that we are united in love and that we experience unity together, and that God desires more for us than we can possibly imagine. You know, when you think about it, when you think about unity, sometimes it's hard because sometimes the people we love the most will be the most honest with, and then that can cause some problems. Have you ever experienced that? And so unity can be tricky. Unity can be tricky. But one of the scriptures in Ephesians 4 says, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit and the bond of peace. And so our heart was to maintain unity. So one of the things that we did was we had a really big city group push over the, by the way, are you more tan now? Or I don't know.
That Hawaiian sun was
I
nice to you.
lathered up quite a lot. I tried really hard not to get a sunburn.
You're like glowing, man. You're like Moses on the mountain. Like,
We had a great time.
maybe it's that. I don't know. But congratulations for coming back. But tell us about city groups. Like, how many city groups did we have? How many people were in it? What were some of the highlights this over these past 6 weeks from city?
Yeah, we had 19 different city groups with almost 200 people in them. There was city groups that started back that hadn't been going for a while, and then brand new city groups that started, and it was just so awesome to hear the stories of the groups being united around the series. They loved having that common language to be able to speak about, and they served our city. They celebrated communion together. Just amazing time.
Awesome. What was something in your city group that happened that was fantastic?
You know, I might be telling on us a little bit. Sorry, guys, if that's the case. But, you know, in our city group, you know, we started out and it was like we were really by the book, you know.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we're going to follow each of these steps. And to be quite honest, by like week 4, we were just having a good time together, you know. And I mean,
You're just whatever.
Yeah, I mean, no,
Book schmuck.
not that. We still did the book, but it was just like, it was cool how at first it was this kind of like feeling out process, you know, and we just came together. And really by like week 4, it was like we were talking about the stuff in the book, but we were just kind of using it as a conversation starter.
Exactly.
More than anything.
Your group actually multiplied, added
Our group
somebody
got
to
way
it.
bigger somehow. Yeah, I don't really.
There was a baby born?
There was a baby born, and we had a
Yeah.
couple of people come and join our group too that
Yeah.
don't necessarily attend. So it was awesome.
Yeah, so feel free to procreate. That's a good thing. city group.
That's how city
population.
groups will take over.
Right. We're all about that. And your group is full of like what
Yeah,
age group?
so it's mostly 20 to 30 and
Okay.
young marrieds. Everyone in our group is married. So
And it's brand new within the last year,
last
right?
last 6 months.
6 months,
last
right.
6 months it's brand new. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the joys that I had was starting a group of college age students, and it's a smaller group, and just providing a place for them to talk, just to be themselves. Summer made a meal every week for them, and they
Lucky
came.
We
and-
got to hear about it every week. You bragged on those meals every week,
I
didn't
was
you?
like, dang, this is tacos, and what else did we have? We had, well, last week was pizza, but that was pretty simple. But what else did we have, guy? What did we have? Titus, what did we have? Meatball subs. Oh, yeah, the meatball subs. That was awesome. But a place to feel safe and a place to be united together. Some of us have, the last time we were in a new city group was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Because we just find people, you know what we tend to do? We just stay with them. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think there's something to going out, taking a risk, and saying, let's start something new. Let's reach some people. Let's welcome some more people in. And so just by shouting out, how many of you are in a city group right now? Just shout out.
All
Isn't that
right,
awesome?
that's
Isn't that
awesome.
So isn't that cool? Can't we just thank God for what He's done in city groups? That's awesome.
One of the prayer partners that we started with in the very beginning,
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
our group had, some fun with that, going back and forth, people joking about, but there really was connection together with those people that we were able to pray with over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, so what would you say to someone who's not in a group and like do they need to have their head examined or what's going on? Like what would you say to
Yeah,
them?
for me,
in all seriousness?
city groups is where life transformation happens. City groups is where you get to be known by somebody and know other people.
Yeah.
I always like the saying that life transformation happens in circles, not rows. Rows are great. We love
Whoa, say that again. Say
life
that
transformation happens in circles, not rows. We love Sunday morning and coming and sitting in rows and hanging out and celebrating Jesus, but life transformation happens when we're in circles together talking and being known.
Yeah, face
so,
to face.
Yeah. And so I would say I understand you're probably a little scared about getting in a group and the commitment and all that kind of thing.
Will there be strange people there?
Yes. Yeah, let's just be honest.
Because you're there, right? Look, Mike there.
But being willing to take that risk and stepping into those groups is so incredible. And it's where you can be honest. It's where you can hear other people and go, oh, wait, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, and what I think too is that for us it was where we could actually live out the book. It's great to come in here and hear it, and that's really important. But then we got to go into our city group and actually live out what we were talking about. For example, for us, we had a couple have a baby in our group, and so it was like, hey, let's just do a meal train for them. Like, let's just start a meal train for them, and that's a way that we can show them love and just really be there for them and carry that into their everyday life, even in the midst of a crazy series. So.
Yep.
And I think some good news is if you're really new and you've only been here for a couple weeks and you're like, I missed the series, I missed the city group thing, we're going to use this series to be able to have new city groups launch out and go through this incredible series together as we move forward. So,
Kind of a primer.
yeah,
right?
a
So-
great opportunity to really learn all about our
So
church.
when is the next one of those start? Probably January?
Probably January, we'll start a new version of a Show Love City Group.
Okay,
So,
and they'll
yeah.
use the video curriculum and go right through the book.
Yep,
and-
right through, and
Awesome.
they can watch the teachings if they want. They'll be available online. So, yeah, it'll be really
Awesome.
great.
Awesome. I'll just say one more thing. One of my favorite moments, and everybody made fun of me because of this, was when you watch the curriculum, and then I do that awkward pause. Remember the awkward
Everybody pause.
When I say,
Welcome
"Now-"
back.
No, when I do the awkward pause the video right now, and so they didn't want me to pause the video. They just wanted to watch what happened in those 2 seconds. Like, no, don't pause it, don't pause it. You look really dorky right there. That's really awesome. But and also just I love that we have a diversity of age and experience in all our city groups. So many people with so many different diverse experiences that we can sharpen each other and to learn from. And so, hey, online, if you're watching online right now, you can go ahead and write your best experience in your city group as well. Just what did God do in your city group?
Hey, how awesome are city groups? Yep, it's Dwayne. I'm jumping in with Rusty because Rusty is doing some time of sharing about city groups right now in the live service. And I love seeing some of these things that you guys are commenting about. What's your best experience in city groups? I see city groups are where relations are forged and connections, and people want to join city groups. That's awesome. And I can't speak highly enough of my city group. I'm in a city group with Nathan and a couple other newly married young adults, and it's just a great time for us to connect with one another. And this series, kind of like what Nathan had said, the book was, it was a guide for us. We started by the book, and then it ended up going into a time of how can we actually live this out? How can we actually practice what we're learning, right? And it was just great. I love our city group. It's still rolling, and I can't encourage you guys enough to join a city group because, also like Rusty had said, change happens in circles, not rows, and I think that's so true. And it's just a good experience. So if you're interested, please leave it in the comments. Get in touch with Rusty at albanycitychurch.org. We want to get you into a city group so that you can experience these connections, this change, and be a part of and being known, right? So as we're gonna keep rolling with our service and just this day of celebration, I'm hyped right now. I'm really excited just about everything that's been going on and what we've been doing. So the next part we want to talk to you guys is being sent with love. So if we got a video and we got some more things that we want to share with you about what Albany City Church has been doing to be sent with love. So check out this video.
One of the things we are trying to do is support local community organizations with whom we share goals. So we learned about Jackson Street Youth Services, and this organization works with youth facing homelessness. We gave bags and bags of toiletries and $930 worth of small denomination gift cards. Another thing we're trying to do is look around the community to see who needs encouragement and thanks for what they're doing. We needed to do something for the employees of Albany General Hospital. So this week we were able to treat 650 employees to a delicious cookie from a Christian-owned bakery called Natural Sprinkles, and we sent a special note from Pastor Josh with each cookie to let employees know we love and appreciate them. And the verse he used in his message was, "Don't grow weary in doing good." And then we had a big event here on the Albany City Church campus. It was another event to just show our love for the community and serve them. And that was the carnival that we did on Halloween evening. And we estimate that we probably had about 500 people attend the carnival. It was such fun for us to see kids and parents all dressed up for Halloween and coming by to just have some fun here. So those are the initiatives that we did in October.
Well, isn't that awesome? That was awesome. So here with me on the platform is probably someone who's no stranger to most of you. This is Pastor Daryl. This is Daryl Mishler. And, you know, Daryl has recently started, just as an aside, started coming to some of our staff meetings. And I just really appreciate him, his wisdom, his love for the church, his selfless service, and I mean, just the years of service that you've brought to the church. And so I just want to thank you for your encouragement and for your partnership. Just even this Wednesday, helping lead our hymn sing, where we had over 40 of our senior adults come and just celebrate and have a nice little turkey lunch. And we already had Thanksgiving, by the way, without you. So it was great, and just listening to you share the message. And so I just want to thank you for that. The third part of our series was all about being sent with love. And one of the key big ideas was, in your sweet spot, you'll have an excess of success. And the sweet spot for Christ followers is serving. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And I just want to thank you as a congregation for stepping up, stepping in, for modeling, for being a beautiful expression of the gospel of Jesus Christ over these past weeks. The carnival, the cookies. I have this is what went on each cookie. It just says, thank you for being on the front lines and helping the most vulnerable people in our community. Thank you for showing love. If you need encouragement, we're here. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. So everybody in the hospital got a little blessing from the scriptures, which I thought was pretty cool. And now, just one thing to note is they were happy. So many times we think, oh, the world, they're so combative, they're so mean, they're so hateful, they're so angry. The hospital administrator that I met with was so thankful. And we sent scripture to every employee of the hospital. And so when you start, I know there's a tendency to go, oh, the world is going bad, and oh my goodness. If we will just do what Jesus called us to do and serve, I mean, you're always going to have the 10%, right, that's going to look at you, throw something at you, or not be happy. I'm telling you, people right now, they're hurting, they're receptive, they're ready. And we have an incredible opportunity to do some incredible work. And so, as I think about this conversation, I want to just ask you a couple questions about this Show Love series, because you've been rather busy with a lot of the things. So over the Show Love series, what have you been most encouraged by as a long-term member of our church as it relates to serving our community? Because you've seen a lot over these past decades, right? And it's humbling to say that, but what has been encouraging for you?
I think the most humbling thing to me is to look back when we first became acquainted with this church, which was in 1975.
Oh, by the way, that's the year I was born.
What can I say? I believe it.
75.
No, and the people that were a part of this church at that time were people who decided to come build a church on this end of town for a particular purpose. And I know you know these stories, but it was to reach people in a new way. And that is the legacy that this church continues to do. And back in the day, when in 1975, Lynn and myself and our daughter Emily were on our way to Brazil as missionaries, and this church became one of our strongest supporters. One of, some of you will remember Pastor, oh my goodness, I knew this would happen. Bransdale, yes. Thank you. Whose daughter actually lived in the same town we did in Brazil, come to find out. But
wow.
my point in bringing up Pastor Ransdell is, if you remember him, you remember how long ago that was. What you might not remember is what the culture was like back then. If you're my age, you're part of the baby boomer generation, and we were spoiled to death. Josh, every TV commercial since TV came on the air in the 50s was pointed at us, the baby boomers, because we were this big group of people. And so we've been catered to all of our lives. And so somehow even the churches started catering to us, because this big group of people out there, what do you do to get them in church? And what they did was build it bigger and they will come. And what we did was recognize a seeker generation, and we tried to have a big show that people would want to come to. Now back to what you were saying, this church in this generation has discovered we need to focus on serving, because the people out there nowadays aren't the same as they were that many years ago. They didn't grow up in the church knowing inherently Jesus is the way. So now...
Can you say that again? Because that's important. They didn't grow up... What was that you said? They didn't grow up...
inherently knowing that Jesus is the way. We grew up... Our parents were the World War II generation. They'd gone through the Depression. Most of them, most of America, whether they lived it or not, knew about Jesus Christ.
Right.
And they knew if they, when they get old, they'll think about church, because they knew that was the thing to do. But people aren't like that anymore. That's not the growing up experience most people have had now. And so Pastor Josh has brought to us a focus on doing whatever it takes, even at the cost of my comfort, and if you're my age, your comfort, because it's not about us anymore. It's about the people God has allowed us to be in contact with, the 650 people at the hospital, who now know there's a church, there's a Jesus Christ, there's a scripture that can relate to me. That, when you're asking what's most impressive to me, or whatever your question was, that's what... I mean, I'll just preach whatever.
I can leave if you want.
No. I'll be quiet. He said 4 to 7 minutes, and I know I've gone over that, but I was encouraged when you say that again, so...
Yeah. Well, I grew up with a lot of church experience where that's what the pastor would say. So let me say that again, because you didn't hear me. Because I don't know what you're doing, but you're not paying attention. You didn't hear me, right. Did you hear what I just said? Right? That was a lot of the culture that I had growing up. And
hallelujah.
That's right. And people would talk back. So, like, if you don't talk back at me, I wonder if you're alive. I wonder if you're there. Like, is everything okay? Are you going to be okay? But, and now one of the things that you have extended through this series is we have a home care ministry.
Yep.
And how many people are on that team, and how many people do we visit, like, on a monthly basis?
Yeah.
And these are people who can't visit or can't come, and they're just no longer able to come to the building anymore. How many people are on that home care team? Tell us about that a little bit.
I will. And impressive, going back to the first question, impressive about that is, while Pastor Josh brings a focus and has a team around him of his, the ministers in our team, he very much focuses out, but he also recognizes there's 140 people my age, a little bit younger than me and up to 95 years old, in this, belonging to this church.
95 years old, right?
Yeah, from 60-something to 95 or so.
Wow.
And that are still living. 140. 51 of those are what we've called home care congregants. The reason we threw in that word home care is because, the old word shut-in, nobody wants to be called a shut-in, And there's
true.
It's not that that all the people in this group of 51 are shut in, or what we'd call a shut in. They, for whatever reason, whether it's COVID, whatever it is, coming to this building is not something they're choosing or not able to do, whatever their age is. So most of them are, in care facilities and like that. But there's 51 of those people. This is impressive to me. The Pastor Josh wanted to focus on how to minister to those people. He's not forgetting us oldies and those older than me, the ones who are the foundation. Focusing on who's out there, but remembering the foundation of the church. So he's arranged for us to have 5 groups with 11 leaders of those groups. And not only that, there's other people too doing visiting, but 5 groups with 11 leaders and over 40 team members who have taken on themselves to contact regularly, whether that's once a month, whether it's a visit in their home. Some people don't want to be visited in their home. So maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a letter, maybe it's, any way they can to contact these 51 people and be telling them, you know what? Our church loves you. whether you can come here or not, you're part of our family. And we want to do whatever we can for you. So we have volunteer office staff sending out every week the church. Do you call it a bulletin? What do you call it?
Sure. The
Sure.
program, the bulletin.
Yeah, all of that. Plus other things that people at home can do with Bible crossword puzzles or anything to help them have their day filled. What I'm getting at in this is, if you're asking me what's impressive to me, one of the most impressive things is that Pastor Josh, this isn't a paid commercial, by the way, Pastor Josh brings to us a staff of people who I like to think, as an oldie, going back now to 1975, we oldies understand what missions is all about. It was part of our DNA as older people to send people to other countries. And so thinking that through, as far as let's capitalize on that mentality that we olders have, and let's recognize it's not about us anymore. Just like when you send a foreign missionary to another country, you're sending them to another culture. Mm-hmm. What this staff is working with is another culture. If you're old, you look at it and say, what? And he started to say, the world is going, all of that kind of stuff. Well, part of us understand that in our hearts, and we're not sure what to do with it. But one thing we can do is recognize we have a staff that Pastor Josh has built around him that is our missionaries. They are our missionaries. Mm-hmm. Our job as oldies, I'm giving you now a message from 1975, it's the church's job to support the missionaries, right? So we, the oldies, get behind these guys, and one of the things we're doing, he mentioned the first Wednesday hymn sings. What we're starting to do is include one staff member a month to come in and tell us, hey, what's going on? So you are our missionary. We want to support you. Tell us, what kind of prayers do you need? What are the missionary stories that you bring to tell us to encourage us? So all of this stuff comes from a heart that says, wait a minute, we need to include everybody. We can't do everything in the way the oldies might like, because we're in a different culture now. When we lived in Brazil, we liked getting together with the missionaries and singing our songs. Yeah. But our ministry was to a culture that didn't even know our songs. Okay? So I'll be quiet now.
Yeah. No,
it's 7 minutes, right? No, it's 4 minutes. Just 4.
I appreciate your heart and your passion and just your love for the community and the fact that you did spend time on foreign soil sharing the gospel. And I know that's a part of our DNA now, is we have missionaries in the Dominican Republic. By the way, we're going there in February. If you're interested, make sure you write on your card. We're going to the Ukraine with the Nelsons. We're going there in July. And so if you're interested, please put that on your card, and because we support and we love our missionaries. It's not only around the world, but it's also across the street. We now live in a missionary context in the United States.
That's right.
This is a post-church culture. And it's sad, probably at some level, for even me. I grew up and you just went to church, right? But it was beginning to shift in the 80s, but now it's way far. I don't want to say far gone, but now we have to be what the church is supposed to be about, and let Jesus be it, and serving be central.
And we're finally getting the message in our hearts. I don't mean finally, because this has gone on, but the idea of serving. Jesus' last words to his disciples before he ascended back to the Father were in Acts 1:8, you will be my witnesses. Mm-hmm. And you're going to start in Jerusalem, right where we're at. And then you're going to go to Corvallis. And then you're going to go to the state of Oregon. And then you're going to go to the othermost parts of the earth.
Right.
And so having a carnival out here, that's a cross-cultural mission event. Why don't we just open the doors and invite them all in? We just did.
Right.
I'll be quiet.
Yeah. No, you can stay here. You can stay here. Don't you just appreciate his passion? Right? I appreciate your passion. We are sent with love. And joining me on the platform here today is Daryl Mishler.
And it was so incredible to hear those stories of us being sent with love. So incredible to see the church's reaction to our Show Love initiative, the way that we brought so many toiletries in. We were able to give gift cards so that those that are facing homelessness here in our community would be able to go into those stores and be able to get a meal and enjoy the warmth of those stores. And hey, that story about taking cookies to our workers at the hospital, that's incredible. So it's been so great to see the way God has moved throughout this whole series. The fact that we are transformed by love, united in love, and sent with love. That is who we are as our church. Our vision is to show love, and our mission is to be transformed, united, and sent with love. As part of our celebration, we want to give you an opportunity to respond. Right in that chat box, you can write your response to this last 6 weeks. What's something God has done? What's something God has said? What is something you're looking forward to? What is something that you're responding to this last 6 weeks? I invite you just to write it in on the chat. Tell us what your response to God's moving is from our Show Love series. I don't know about you, but I have been amazed by God's faithfulness, God's love, God's joy that has come out during this 6 weeks sermon series. We're looking forward to next Sunday as we gather again. Pastor Josh has a message for us that I'm sure will connect with our hearts. And we're looking forward as we go towards the Christmas season, and we will celebrate Advent, and it's coming faster than we can even imagine. Thank you so much for being part of our church. Thank you for being a part of this online experience, for interacting together, for writing in the chat, for being part of this Show Love series. We want to end our service like we always do with God's word. I invite you to hold out your arms and receive this blessing coming out of Numbers chapter 6. It simply says this: Yahweh the Lord bless you and keep you. Yahweh the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yahweh the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. I love you all. We'll see you back next week for another opportunity to show love.